Good morning, everybody. Well, this week I thought I would look at a project that I've been thinking about for a while, and it involves a shirt. And the shirt is this shirt. Let me see if I can get my hair out of the way. It's a very simple shirt. This is made out of very nice linen fabric. It is light. It is so light. It would be so comfortable this summer. That's one reason I bought it. I do kind of have to pull it to the front. But it's a very simple shirt. I paid way too much money for it at a store that I desperately love. It's my favorite clothing store out near the beach. And I'll put a link to it down below. It's called Dorsey. And they have beautiful cotton and linen clothing that is it's just my favorite type of clothing. I only bought this because I knew from looking at it that it would be a super easy shirt to copy. It looks like it is just a rectangle, one solid rectangle in the front, maybe with a little bit more arm, yeah, a little bit of arm length, and of course with the scoop neck, with just it's a very simple finished French edge. And then the back is also the same, very same, with the seam down the back, okay? So I am going to today lay this out, try to find some fabric I have enough of that I could make a similar shirt, but I don't want it to be heavy. I want it to be very light. I want it to be cotton or linen, no polyester in the summer, and see if I can make something similar to this shirt, but we're going to give it a shot. So why don't you come along with me and see what you think about this sewing project. So here is the shirt on a hanger, and I've got the shoulder seams right on the edge of the hanger. Now they are using a little binding around the edge, which is not a bad idea. I wonder if I should do that. That does keep it light rather than doing a turned seam, especially a French turned seam. And you can also see here, when I have it hung straight on the hanger, that the front and the back are exactly the same length. So this is not a high-low shirt, okay? Although it will tend to adjust on the shoulders and it might look like that. And even though it has a nice, this drapey sleeve, I'm not wild about how drapey that is and hangs down, but I don't mind it. And the length is just perfect. It covers up my tummy, but it doesn't look too big. This is definitely just a straight rectangle with just a little, maybe an inch shaping, certainly some up here. Here's a close-up of the fabric. You see? That's already starting to pull. Isn't that interesting? But it is very nice fabric. I wish I had something similar. I don't know that I do. So now I'm going to spend a few minutes looking through my fabric and seeing what I have. I need to measure this, find out how much I need, and then see if I have anything that will do. Okay, measuring across the front, which I think is just about the same as the back. It's a little hard to tell on linen because it does have some give. But the measurement all the way across from kind of armpit to armpit is 40.5 inches. Okay, I want a measurement from the top of the shoulder seam here to the bottom hem. So that's 21.5. Okay, the length of this shoulder seam, that will be interesting. 15.5. Now see, this is nice to know, is that this shoulder, this arm opening, it's the same front and back. 9 inches. That's 9 inches. If I measure this, looks like there's about a 2-inch slope there, a very gradual slope. It looks like there's only additional fabric here, but actually I think that the outward slope toward the armhole starts a little bit earlier, like maybe down here. It has a little bit of a drop here, but it has a bigger drop here. Now if I put these shoulders right here on my cutting board and I look at where this falls, it looks like it's about a 2.5-inch drop from what the fabric line would have been to the back neck edge. but that means that the front is going to be even more. And this is really important in order to be able to get your head in. Okay, so I'm going to measure from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, no, 4.5. And I really want to know what the distance is here. Let's just use this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Looks like it's about a little under 11 inches here. That neck opening is so important. Now I'm going to go look through my fabric. Well, after digging into my fabric dresser over there, I found something very interesting, which is that I have 2 pieces of fabric that are large enough for this, and they are, that's new fabric that I bought at the fabric store, like probably 3 years ago, to make shirts kind of like this. I kind of had this in mind. I didn't know what the pattern would be, and they've been sitting around all this time. They are 100% cotton. They're not a light, thin linen, which I would really prefer to get that same drape, but it would be a good fabric to start on and give it a try. So I'm going to get started. Maybe move out to the dining room table and cut these pieces out. I'm not going to take the linen shirt apart, obviously. I'm not going to do that to it, but I am going to use it as pattern, and we'll get started. I thought I'd do the orange fabric first. And you see how it's, this is, I think, like 45, 46, whatever the width of 44, 45 of fabric bolts are. And so I've got some wiggle room on the side, which is nice. And it's interesting, as I've straightened it out, it really is true that all these seams are, you know, they're pretty square, except for that. I don't want a 1/2 inch seam allowance. That is too small. I may just go ahead and do 1 inch to give myself plenty of wiggle room. And I'm not going to use up all this fabric. I'll have a little bit left for some other projects, you know, some scrappy sewing, but this will be the main thing for this. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Now I've cut out this half of the garment. I put a little notch right there, and I've stopped. There's the name of the company, Dorsey. I've stopped right on this seam. And I think the best way to get a really symmetrical cut is to just stop here, take this up, lay this over, and cut my second half, using the first half as a pattern. Now that I know where my center seam is. So I think we'll do that. Now the only difference between the front and the back really is the neck opening. The scoop is lower in the front, so I'm going to use that measurement I took and cut just the front neck opening, and I think we'll be ready to think about putting this together. Now the difference between the back neck drop and the front neck drop is 2 inches. And so I'm going to put a pin right here in the front piece. I'm going to call this the front piece. Okay. Okay, so I got rid of the back piece. I've folded the front piece in half because I want this opening definitely to be symmetrical. I've got a pin that is 2 inches down lower. And now I'm just going to cut a nice, it needs to meet at the same spot. It just has to come lower. So you've got to make sure you get right there or you're going to have trouble with your neck opening. But doing it like this at least ensures that it is symmetrical. There. We will hope that looks good. All right, now we are going to pray hard that the sewing machine behaves itself. I do still have my gray thread on there, but I don't think that'll make a difference. That's kind of a universal color. It's a very pale whitish gray. Now I'm going to sew the shoulder seams first and the side seams first. On the original linen shirt, the only seam that was that had binding on it was the neck opening. And I think that's for stability because the linen is so lightweight. Otherwise it would probably pucker and gape. I don't think that's going to be a problem on this particular shirt because the cotton is, you know, a little sturdier. So I'm just going to do regular seams on all of them. I am still going to use the 1-inch seam allowance, and then I am going to do old school and go back and trim it afterward just to be on the safe side. I probably could have done 1/2 inch, but I'd rather not waste the fabric if I do something wrong. I don't sew like I used to. I grew up sewing all the time. I sewed a ton because I grew up in a family where we had everything we needed, but we didn't have much extra. And there wasn't extra for store-bought clothes and stuff. And so as soon as I started babysitting at the age of 11, I started buying fabric and making my own clothes. Nothing fancy, you know, simplicity patterns and cotton fabric, but I stuck with it for myself for at least 10 years or more. So then fabric got so expensive, so we all stopped sewing. All right, well, let's give this a little whiz around and we'll see how it comes out. Okay, let's see if I can show it to you. So far, there it is. Look how wide it is. Oh my goodness. So what I'm going to do next is I am going to press open all these seams along the shoulders and along the sides because I want them to lie flat because they're going to be incorporated into the kind of the circular openings, which is the neck. That's the shorter, smaller circular opening, and the bottom, which is the bigger one. So I want these side seams and neck seams to lie in there really nice. All right, those seams are looking nice and pressed. I think I will do the large hem opening first. And I did leave an inch seam allowance, which gives me enough to do a 1/2 inch turn. I don't have a serger. Don't really want one. So I'm not going to serge these edges, but I think I will do a 1/2 inch and then a 1/2 inch. And I'll get a finished edge that will look like that, which will be kind of nice. I think that'll be fun. I want to practice on this. I mean, I just don't sew as much as I used to, especially garments. And I kind of want to practice before I get to that neck edge. Okay, I did the bottom opening. Now I'm doing the armhole openings. And I'm doing them instead of the whole 1 inch, I'm doing a 1/2 inch. I mean, it's a double turn, 1/4 inch each. This will make them just a teeny bit longer, 1/2 inch longer, but I don't want that big of a bulky closure on there. So that's what we're doing next. We start at the armpit opening, that side of the opening. All right, now on to the neck opening. Well, I am feeling very acutely how old and rusty my sewing skills are. This shirt was easy peasy till I got to the neckline. And as you know, I had left a 1 inch allowance. I was going to try to turn it. Oh boy, that wasn't going to work. I tried notching the edge. That didn't help. I thought, okay, stop. I trimmed it down to where it was only a 1/2 inch seam allowance there. And then I decided to look through my stock of old sewing supplies, and I found some seam binding. It's yellow, but it looks good with it. I think it looks fine. And so I'll show you what I did. I think it looks okay. It does lie flat. But whew, it's a little bit of a headache. I think I spent as long on the neck opening as I did on the whole rest of the shirt. Okay, I just have it kind of laid out on my little ironing spot, which is really just a towel on top of a table. But so here's the neck opening. There's the seam binding. You know, you can see it on the back of, you know, but you won't be able to see it here on the front. It goes all the way around. I just sewed it on the edge and folded it over and sewed it again. Well, you can see still that my tension is not great. It's very frustrating on my machine, but it did the job. So I think I'll go try it on and see how it fits. It's not going to have the drape of linen. I hope it has a bit of a drape. It may do better. Boy, it's kind of pretty fabric from a distance, isn't it? I think it'll do better once it's been washed a couple times and all the fabric sizing or whatever is out of it. It'll probably have a softer feel. All right, so here we go. Boy, it looks like a party with those pants, doesn't it? I still like this. It's just a slightly cropped top. Normally I would never wear that, but with high pants or with a cami underneath, it works just great. It doesn't have the same drape. It gives a very slopey shoulder look, and it gives more of a, the fabric almost pulls across there, although there's plenty of it. Sleeves work fine. I like a little sleeve coverage because I've got, you know, those things that we old ladies have. So, but one thing I love is how cool this is. Even with the heavier cotton fabric, because it's so airish, it's going to be nice and cool in the summertime. So, here's, got to get it to sit properly on the front. So here's the first one. We'll see if I'll do another one. I don't know. So maybe next time I'll do a slightly better job and figure out the shoulders and the neck opening better. But for now, it's not too bad. That was a fun little project. Let me know what you think. And if you would like to try it, I've given you the measurements. I think you might be able, if you're a good seamstress, you might be able to do this. Well, I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye. I'm going for my morning walk, 30 minutes on the property, and I thought I would take you along a little bit. I started walking around the pasture, which is a much longer course. Our mower is now at the shop, thankfully. I will miss the clover once it gets mowed again, but I won't miss all the weeds. So we're going to head back through the barn lot toward the farm dogs, past the chickens. Barker's up barking. He's saying good morning. We'll go say hello to Barker. And then we'll head out to the pasture. Still haven't been able to burn because we have a statewide burn ban right now. It's been very dry, but we've had more rain. So hopefully I can have a burn barrel soon. Oh, somebody brought new chairs for all of the volunteers to sit and rest in. That's nice. Good morning, Barker. Good morning. All right. Okay. This is the back of the property, the north side of the property. It is a little sketchy back here. Adam plans to mow a nice short cropped path around the perimeter for me. I just nearly tripped over a branch. Often I will pick up branches as I go and throw them into the verge over there. I like this part because it feels like a little tunnel. And I have my clippers this morning, so I'm gonna, on my second round, I'll clip back some of these low-hanging little branches. It's very cool. Don't know what I'm gonna do in the summer when it's outrageously hot, even at 6 o'clock in the morning. Don't know if I'll be able to walk in the summer. We'll just have to wait and see. But for now, I will. There's a big branch that broke off. This is kind of where our garden used to be. Big vegetable garden. No more. This is where I think a little house would be so nice. I left a pine tree here. There's the elderberry over there. Oh, I shouldn't be stopping. I gotta keep walking. We left another pine tree. This is a privet. I think that's a wax myrtle over there. I'm just starting to leave a little impression in the grass because I've been walking this several days. I missed over the weekend because we had company. Old, very dear friends came by. It was so much fun to visit with them. I've known her since, high school, late high school. So this is the corner. And even though I'm heading east, there's so many pine trees here. It's very shady this time of day. There used to be a big old tree here that was down. And our son and his wife, there it is. There were actually several trees, I think, but they took care of that last summer? Maybe the summer before. Can't remember. So our property is a really long trapezoid. This is the short end, I guess you'd call it. Adam used to keep all the fences cleared. That is too hard to do. Now we're heading toward the road. And I might turn this off if the traffic gets to be too loud. I need to cut that little Virginia creeper vine down. And I'm going to walk along the long side here. Well, that was a nice long walk down there. Now we're going to take a little turn. Adam never could get all this fence down because he got part way and then he got really bad poison ivy that activated his immune illness and he had to stop. But this is where I like to cut through into what we call our little willow copse. That's the really nice willow tree there. I'll probably be making a little trail through here. The vines on that building are out of hand, but I don't have any time for that right now. We've got wild onions out here, all kinds of things growing. There used to be a little arched Chinese bridge here when we first bought the property many years ago, but it collapsed and now we just have couple of pieces of wood. That tree needs some attention. It's got a lot of stuff growing around it. And all the trees, most of the trees seem to have poison ivy. Now here is a crepe myrtle that fell down. First one part of it fell toward the road, and then the other day, this part fell this way. I tried to attack it with some loppers, but they were not strong enough to go through that wood. There's my tarragon bush coming back. That's kind of exciting. So Adam has to get after that with a saw. You can barely get through the front now. We don't really use the front, and we really want a barrier like this. That's what we were shooting for. And then you may recall that a couple of teenagers landed their car right here and took out our barrier bushes. I mean, they look horrible, but that's really what we want, is a strong sound and visual barrier between us and the road. And sadly, we lost this part. And the last little leg is up the driveway. I weeded out the grass in that new bed today and hopefully tidied it up some. Need to take my laundry in. And now we're back to the back porch. And so that is our first lap. I need about 4.5 laps to get my half hour in. That's it.